Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is luca-zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a dream. If you're listening to this broadcast, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
A renewed cry to lock her up coming from President Trump, pointing out a double standard in the government's treatment of Hillary Clinton for her reckless handling of classified materials. While others have paid dearly for what they say are similar, even lesser offenses, the president recently tweeting, "Crooked Hillary Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin, has been accused of disregarding basic security protocols. She put classified passwords into the hands of foreign agents. Remember sailors' pictures on submarine? Jail. Deep State Justice Department must finally act." Also on Comey and others. Joining me now, a Fox News exclusive, the sailor the president was referring to, former Navy machinist, Kris Saucier. All right, so Christian, you took some photographs of a submarine and then just threw them out, and they were deemed, I believe, confidential, which is the lowest level of classification. Yet, you were prosecuted and ended up going to prison. How do you feel about Hillary not?
Well, I think it's a blatant proof of the double standard of justice within this country and how the FBI and the Department of Justice were weaponized under the Obama administration to go after conservatives like myself and General Flynn while letting, unpatriotic liberals like Hillary Clinton and her aides skate. And it's just very upsetting. I think it should be upsetting for all American people that we're held to a different standard than crooked politicians.
Okay, so you are actually not in a studio right now because your parole or probation officer says you can't go to a studio. You're wearing an ankle bracelet. That's how serious they're taking this. Yet Hillary Clinton, I think, had top secret classification on her materials. Yet Comey came out and said that no reasonable prosecutor would bring a case, but they brought a case against you. How do you feel about that?
It's very true. I watched all those speeches that Comey gave, and it was while I was through my legal battles. And I said, well, I know a prosecutor that would bring a charge against somebody for far lesser. Mine was confidential. There was never any argument that I had nefarious intent or that I had intent to cause national harm. That's not a requirement for the law that they prosecuted me under. So it's not the requirement for Hillary. Gross negligence is enough to break that law. I basically possessed classified images on an unsecured device, my cell phone, and that was breaking the law by unlawful retention of national defense information, which is exactly what Hillary Clinton did on a much larger scale with much more secure information, and nothing happened to her.
Another Sunday, another show. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna, and that was a little segment from Fox News just a few days ago with my former guest, Kris Saucier, Navy Sailor Kris Saucier, who was just pardoned by President Trump just a few days ago. I tell you, things like that give me the little bit of hope that we still have a chance to bring justice, and also the fact that motivates me to be here on the air. I'm just a little guy, don't get me wrong. I'm probably the smallest voice you can ever hear, okay? And I don't want to take credit, of course, for the, let's say, pardon of Mr. Kris Saucier. But at least I want to tell you something. I do everything I can. I done this with him. I had him on the show. First of all, I had his wife on the show at least a couple times, Sadie Saucier, when she was really, tried to get attention from the media. The man, her husband, was rotting in federal prison, and the point is his life destroyed. Their life destroyed. We know the story. You already heard. He was caught with a couple of very innocent photos of him on his cell phone with a background of the wall of the submarine where he was serving, with no any type of sensitive information. And these they were old photos. They've been came back like years later, and they threw the book at him. Seriously. And meanwhile, while this was happening, Hillary Clinton was completely being not even set free, because she was never arrested, never indicted, nothing. There was the biggest travesty of justice. So the point is, I had his wife on the show, I had his lawyer on the show, I had also Mr. Kris Saucier on the show after when he was released finally. But the problem was still, of course, a felon. He was still left with dishonorable discharges. But regardless, I try everything I can to give him a voice. Like I did, for example, for Eric J. Parker. You know, the famous bandits sniper, as the government tried to name him. That, by the way, he was found innocent on most charges and just let go with a misdemeanor for some very minor things. So the point is, I try. Regardless, I try. And I try to do my best. And that's why I'm on this show. If I can give a voice to somebody out there, and we can try to, together, seriously, because this is not just about listening to the show. It's about trying to do something. I hope you listeners, I know you do. You are not just listeners. You're also people who try to do what you can. That's why I'm here. So anyway, I'm very thankful that this good ending, once in a while we have a good ending for this family, for the Saucier family. Now, I also want to say, I have going to call right now Chris on the phone, because I hope maybe he can hear me. I mean, he can talk to me. I know he's busy probably. And I would like just to have him on the show for a few seconds. And I thought would be nice, you know. I talked to him last time, probably about 6 months ago when he was released. Now, let's call Saucier family. And I'm sure it's going to be a very happy family. Let's see who's going to answer, okay? A little bit of a 60-second break for a little sponsor. Of course, don't forget, that's the way I support the show. Sharing my ideas, sharing my products. And here we are. If you want to drink the best organic coffee, you should try my coffee, Zanna Coffee. And after this, here we go. We're calling the Saucier family. Hopefully we can talk to Chris and his wife. Hey, you. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve a break. Enjoy a moment of indulgence. It's time for Zanna Coffee. Guilt-free pleasure. Zanna Coffee is the organic coffee to amplify your senses and enhance love for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Only the best organic and GMO-free coffee beans from around the world that I selected. Zanna Coffee brings you happiness in every cup. Fair trade certified, sustainable organic coffee. That means we do not use slaves. Free Zanna songs with every coffee bag. Find Zanna Coffee at www.zannacoffee.com. www.zannacoffee.com. Get your coffee bag now. Don't be cheap. Life is too short and you deserve the best. Zanna Coffee.
Oh, hi, how's it going?
Hey, congratulations, brother. I'm so happy for you and your family, okay?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all your support.
Hey, we try, and all I say, finally, more important, I want to say what you say, because I heard your interview on Fox, and you were very eloquent, but I want to give you the floor. Let me shut up. You go ahead. At this point, your impression of what's going on and what happened to you, and maybe if there is some hope still. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, there is. We're pretty positive for the future now. It's a very we're just this is a huge step in the right direction. So we're really happy that we've been vindicated by the president.
Yes, and I read that in the article that also you got a personal phone call from President Trump. Is it true?
Yes, we did.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I must tell you, I'm very impressed with that. And I'm sure it was pretty short. I mean, the guy is pretty busy. But can you tell me a little bit of the nature of the call? How he called you by name, he called you by Mr. I'm just curious. I never had a call from a president.
Oh, no. I don't think a lot of people have. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, and he called, and it was a pretty personal call, and he thanked me for my military service, and he kind of reiterated what we all thought, which was, what happened to me wasn't right, and
and it should never happened. It should never got to that level. So, and that's why he was giving us our lives back by giving the pardon. So it was, like I said, it was pretty vindicating to have all that.
Very good. Now you can come back to work. I mean, you can have a regular life, pretty much. When you think it's going to be starting all this, the removal of your ankle bracelet and all these things, when you're starting to go back to normal?
Well, actually, we as soon as the pardon was signed, my wife Sadie, she called my probation officer and asked him if we could cut off the ankle monitor, and he said yes. So,
wow.
Yeah, as soon as I came home from work, she had the pair of scissors and cut it off. She was very excited about that. She was waiting for me at the door with scissors. So,
Lisa, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great, guys. I'm so very pleased. And by the way, say hi also to your attorney. I had him on my show, Mr. Daigle, I guess his name. Sorry if I misspell it. It was great. I think he did a great job. I mean, I had him on the show too. And the last thing I want to tell you something now. What do you think? Something seems moving. We noticed that the FBI, top levels now, one is being fired. I don't think it's enough. I think she should be indicted. But what do you think is going to happen now to Hillary? Think we have some hope to finally get some justice there?
Oh yeah, we're hopeful that they're going to send a very clear message to the American people that what happened during that whole era of James Comey and Andrew McCabe was wrong, and that I don't think that either one of them will get indicted, unfortunately. Even though you're absolutely right, they probably should, because they clearly were not impartial as they're supposed to be for the FBI, but and they were clearly trying to steer the election in favor of Hillary Clinton. But I think that there's hope now that Jeff Sessions is clearly starting to take a stance on this, and firing Andrew McCabe before he could get his retirement, it was a pretty big move. So I think that maybe there's some hope that finally with this Inspector General report that should be coming out any day now, the American people are going to see what we've all seen, that there was truly some injustice done, and that they're going to start taking efforts. I don't know how much weight that the report will have on its own, but I think Jeff Sessions is going to use it and say, look, we need to reopen this investigation into Hillary Clinton, because, the classified emails is just one of many crimes that her and her organization have committed, and there's no justice if they're not prosecuted for at least some of those things.
Listen, Kris, I want to say thank you for standing up, try to do your best, and for you and your lady that you fought so hard close to you, next to you. And say hi to her again, and please be in touch, okay? Hopefully, finally, you can come back on Facebook and to be just a regular guy, no more for this type of phone calls. We can talk about other things, okay?
Okay.
Listen, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. That was Kris Saucier. Thank you very much. All right, guys, this is Sunday, another show, and we started like that with this news, okay? I'm very emotional, I tell you. I've been talking with Kris Saucier and his family, his wife, for almost, several times. At least I had him on the show 2 or 3 times with the wife, and of course also the lawyer, Mr. Daigle. I mean, sometimes it becomes almost personal, all this, I must admit it. So now to see finally that we were able to, and not just me, I'm just a regular little talk radio show, but we try. Everything I can, we try. There are a lot of other people trying to do their job to point this out to President Trump and to the public media, what happened to this man, Mr. Saucier. So anyway, I'm very glad. Now I want to have a little break, and then we can talk more about details, what's happening to the Sunday show of Love, Guns, and Freedom. Do not go away.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca-Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Over the past century, estimates of deaths under communism range from 85 to 100 million people. To many, the collapse of the Soviet Union and increasing economic freedom in China show the failure of Marxism. Yet many remain convinced that peaceful and productive communism is possible. When asked about the Soviet Union, they may respond, but that's not real communism, believing that dictatorship was the problem, Stalin was the problem, not Marxist ideas. But communist dictatorships are not an accident. Rather, they're the natural outcome of Marxism put into practice. You, the friendly communist, might think you're nonviolent and wouldn't create an authoritarian regime if it were you in power, but if you're truly dedicated to bringing about communism no matter what, you would. Don't believe me? Let's imagine your communist revolution. Be it violent or democratic, congrats, welcome to power. It's time to organize your new classless society. The first thing you might find is not everyone is so happy you're there. Society didn't unanimously settle on your vision. So many people aren't going to give up their property to be socialized willingly. But you don't believe in their right to private property anyway, so no matter. Off to the gulag with them. What was theirs is now the people's. That wealth might sustain the proletariat for a while, but eventually we're going to have to start producing new goods for the people. From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. But if people don't get to keep what they make, they don't have an incentive motivating them. Not to worry, the new socialist man will take care of that. Without capitalism driving him to be greedy, his mind will be refocused to take care of all the people. Except that didn't happen in any attempt at communism ever, because man's greed might be heightened by society, but millennia of evolution have also driven a desire to collect goods for oneself. So how do you motivate people to keep working and provide for society? Those that don't meet their quotas, off to the gulag. And those gulags better be pretty bad too if you want people to be incentivized not to end up there. And if you don't get your gulag sending decisions just right, you might end up crippling your production instead, starving millions. And if indeed conditions start to deteriorate, you can't let the people know it's better elsewhere, or else they'll want to leave, worsening your production difficulties. So hello Iron Curtain and shooting runaways at the border. You don't have to have a violent evil goal to end up with evil if the demands of reality necessitate violence and evil to bring about your goal. Stop comparing the supposed evils of capitalism in reality to communism in your fantasy and start comparing the realities of both. One has lifted billions of people out of poverty, the other has killed 100 million of them.
And that was an interesting video clip that I found on YouTube about explaining communism. There is a university, I think the University of Hawaii, they did a research and they found out that communism, at least the last century, killed or murdered more than 100 million of people. And many of them, they are their own people. I mean, look in China, Mao Zedong, they said that they probably murdered 60 million of his own people, even more. And of course Russia, Stalin, I mean, it's a huge number. And don't get me wrong, I am not an advocate of fascism or Nazism. They're pretty much, people sometimes forget. There is not much difference. Just because one can be considered black, the other one is red. The idea is always the same. The government, the state, is God. And the individual is nothing. The individual live and, let's say, exist because just as a tool of the state. That's it, as slave of the state. And that's the idea. Let's not forget, the Nazis, they were National Socialists. So the point is, why I'm bringing this into the show? Because I really want to remind to all these young idiots out there, especially in this country, America, if they go around, waving these little red flags or Mao Zedong or Che Guevara t-shirts, they have no freaking clue. You have no freaking clue what it means really to be a socialist or living in a socialist country. That, by the way, it is just the first step, towards communism. And let's not forget, socialism, they take over your properties, your rights by vote. With communism, they will come with the tanks, with the rifles. Why am I bringing all this? Because this is all connected, by the way. I always say the first weapon we must have is information. We are doomed if we are ignorant. There is no way we can survive what's coming. At the same time, though, I want to remind you, more important, I want to remind to the, I don't want to call them names because, this, after all, it's a show that I need to keep it FCC compliance. To the idiots out there, the useful idiots, that they really think, that they can take our guns away. Because you don't think I need a gun, because after all, maybe an AR-15, it is not for, let's say, hunting purposes, or it is not for sport purposes. Let me be clear. None of my rifles, none of my guns are for sport purposes or for hunting purposes. The only thing I want to hunt, it's going to be tyrants if the day comes. That's it. Defend my freedom. Defend our country in this republic. Simple as that. So listen to these other politicians, how they got caught, with is a mix between ignorance and, of course, an agenda. The agenda is they want to take our guns. And most of them are Democrats, but don't get me wrong, Republicans, they're easily to manipulate too. Many of them, they're phony, and they think they call themselves Republicans, but they're just following the same globalist agenda. And the agenda is that slaves, they're never supposed to be armed. Now, listen to this. This is kind of amazing. It's a short compilation of all these psychos, different medias combined together, how we're supposed to, believe that even what they're saying makes sense. It's amazing. Listen to this crap.
Thing about eliminating military-style weapons from society and making sure that we don't have high-capacity, rapid-fire magazines.
High-capacity, rapid-fire magazines.
That allow mass killings.
This is a ghost gun. This right here has ability with a .30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
I read the legislation and it said that it would regulate barrel shrouds. What's a barrel shroud and why should we regulate that?
I'm not saying it was the best bill, but that was the best bill that could get out at that particular time. I actually don't know what a barrel shroud is.
Because it's in your legislation.
Thing that
these bullets, as you saw, have an incendiary device on the tip of it, which is a heat-seeking device.
Take a look at this video used to shoot a watermelon using an AR-15.
Certainly somebody who's 18, 19, 20 years old shouldn't be able to purchase an assault rifle, an AR-15, or other gas-assisted receiver firearms.
Gas-assisted.
I don't know if I should continue this. This is really serious. Don't get me wrong. These people are not funny. And there is much more. These people are plenty scary. Are completely scary. And they have an agenda. The agenda is to disarm the American people, period. There is a new bill was just introduced in Congress last week, and I tell you, it is just speechless. It is speechless because people say, oh, they don't want to take your guns. No, just we start with these terrible assault weapons. And by the way, I can't stop saying enough. If you're ignorant, you shut up for a second and listen. I'll try to give you some education here. The assault weapon, the AR-15, it is not an assault weapon. It is a semi-automatic rifle. Nothing different from what you could have from, let's say, a mini Ruger. The only difference that you have there is a pistol grip, okay? And you have, yes, this really very nasty looking color black. Probably, I don't know why this black color seems like so evil. And that's it. Pistol grip, a stock, they maybe can be, adjust to your body. So, you have a little bit more comfort. By the end of the story, it is a semi-automatic rifle. Chamber in 5.56 NATO or 223 Remington. Simple as that. Okay? Now, to make it become like an assault weapon, what people like to call assault weapon, you should have a selective fire rifle that can shoot or 3 rounds burst or eventually full automatic. Something that this rifle does not do. And yes, you can still have in this country, after a lot of regulations, heavy taxes and very special permits, eventually you may have, if you're rich enough, wealthy enough, an assault weapon. If you can afford $20,000, probably you could, at least. So my point is, this is not about assault weapon. This is about taking guns away from the American people. People say, why? Why? Especially Democrats, they're so focused, so determined to really take away our rights to keep and bear arms. There is a bill, as I said, that House Democrats introduced a bill prohibiting sale of semi-automatic weapons. Okay? Every semi-automatic weapon. Go to read it. House Democrats have introduced a bill banning some semi-automatic firearms in the wake of February 14 shooting at a high school in Parkland, Florida. Republican David Cicilline, announced Monday is introducing the assault weapon ban of 2018. More than 150 Democrats have signed on the support of the legislation. Okay? Now, they want all the semi-automatic guns away. Okay? Doesn't matter if they looks like an AK-47 or an AR-15. Assault weapons were made for one purpose, Cicilline said in a statement. They are designed to kill as many people as possible in a short amount of time. Do not belong in our communities. First of all, dear Mr. Cicilline, the right to keep and bear arms, it is nothing to do with your community. Okay, it is an individual right. Okay, number one. Number two is a semi-automatic rifle or gun. It is our duty, not our right. It is our duty to have it, to train with, and to carry it also, in my opinion. Because this is what, especially after the latest, you can see the evidence how law enforcement failed us. This deputy was sitting around waiting cowardly outside the school in Florida, Parkland, Florida, while people that were being slaughtered. That's the bottom line. You cannot even count on anybody else but yourself. But let me tell you, I'm not even that concerned about regular criminals to defend myself. This Second Amendment was never written to defend just yourself from regular scumbags. Don't get me wrong, a Glock or semi-automatic rifle is much better than probably a rock or a 2x4. The point is, these semi-automatic rifles, and by the way, in my opinion, we're supposed to have the same type of small arms that our military law enforcement have. Exactly the same. Yes, before 1934, we used to have exactly the same type of semi-automatic or short barrels guns that our military and our law enforcement had. That was one of the first real infringement on our rights. Now, why I'm really so concerned about the right to keep and bear arms, not just from a philosophical point of view that it is our right, but also because I'm really concerned that these communist scums, these statists, these globalists, that they want to create this socialist regime, global regime. The first thing they want to take our guns. They want to have a disarmed population. So much that communist China, talking about communist China, thinks, this is out of an article, AmericanMilitaryNews.com, thinks the U.S. should restrict gun ownership to protect human rights. This is, they want to call gun control. Think about it. The scum of the universe, the most incredible violators on human rights, on people human rights, their own country, they treat their people like cattle. That's the bottom line. They kill you, they put you in gulags, they do everything unless you completely conform and submit to the state. They telling us that we're supposed to be disarmed because, this is good for human rights. So a Chinese state-run newspaper said in a recent editorial that the United States should learn from China and restrict civilian gun ownership, Reuters recently reported. The editorial called China Can Offer Lessons to U.S. in protecting human rights ran in the Global Times newspaper on February the 22nd, just after a week of the Parkland shooting in Florida. There is an urgent need for the U.S. to impose harsh restrictions on gun purchases nowadays, the editorial said. The U.S. has witnessed mass proliferation of guns and rampant gun violence. First of all, let me tell you something, dear Chinese scumbags, communist Chinese. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good Chinese people out there. I have friends who are Chinese, that they are, by the way, they are here in America. And they want to be free. They love freedom. They want to live in a free society. They love free market. They don't want to be slaves of the state. They want to make money. They love capitalism. Okay? That's the idea. My point is, all the other people who they really believe that they can force and coerce others in their completely utopistic, nightmaristic agenda called communism, what they want, they demand, they want to have unarmed people. That's a fact. And what I'm really concerned, that, one day, unfortunately, we may face a potential invasion. People say, oh, never going to happen here. Guess what already happened here? Don't forget Pearl Harbor. There was an invasion, but was an attack on our soil. And the point that we never really had to face something that many other countries around the world did, don't get me wrong, there is always the first time. And now we have, new enemies that unfortunately I don't say we created, but unfortunately we fed. We also have, let's say, financed, supported. China would not existed if after the World War II, unfortunately, part of our government completely gave them everything, so much that they let them happen. Mao Zedong was supported by the bankers, the European bankers, by the American bankers. So let's not forget that. So my point is this, that's why I really believe they want to disarm us. It is not about, worrying about the crime rates. By the way, talking about also their own stupid arguments, okay, that they believe, also the media, that this sort of proliferation of small arms in the hands of civilians is creating such a spike of gun crimes. First of all, the only crime spikes that we have are exactly in locations, in cities or states where gun control is strong. Like, for example, Chicago, Illinois. That's where you have the highest rates of gun crimes, where there is the highest level of gun control. Now, there is an article out of LA Times, okay, not exactly a conservative newspaper, it says, gun control, what gun control supporters don't mention. The U.S. rate of gun violence has dropped sharply. To the editor, I'm a retired Los Angeles police officer, a lifetime member of the NRA, and the owner of several modern sporting rifles, sometimes called assault rifles. I have a hard time understanding what gun violence crisis or epidemic we are supposedly experiencing in this country. Okay, so bottom line, just to keep it short, okay, is bringing facts and data that honestly I don't care. I'm telling you, even if we had the crime going up, and it's not the case, we're never supposed to be penalized for somebody else's crimes, right? If you're innocent, why you should be paid the consequences? Why you should be denied your rights? But let's go also by their number, okay? The rate of gun violence is almost half of what it was in 1993. This has occurred during a time in which millions of law-abiding citizens have purchased guns, many of them, between quotes, assault rifles, and concealed carry limits have been relaxed all over the country. Okay? So you can see the numbers if you want. I mean, I don't even go there. But my point is, out of directly of a LA Times, it is true, these are directly from from FBI statistics. The point is that gun control creates more crimes. And the point is that, for example, let's say, give you a number, firearm-related homicides dropped from 18,253 homicides in 1993 to 11,101 in 2011. Okay, according to a report by the Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics. And non-fatal firearm crimes dropped from 1.5 million victimization in 1993 to 467,000 in 2011. Where there were 7 gun homicides per 100,000 people in 1993, this is the Pew Research Center, okay, now dropped to 3.6 gun deaths in 2010. So there is so much more. I mean, this is amazing stuff, and I'm very happy, to bring facts. But you're talking about facts, I had a person, or at least a couple of people that they rebuked to my letter, my letter about a message to the gun control supporters. I'm tempted to write them back. I should probably read it to you on the air and then comment it. I don't know. But my point is, I don't know if they're really stupid or if they are just completely having an agenda. Maybe both, okay? But it's so much easy. If you want to, and I may try to to give them facts, to answer to their rebuttal. Because after all, I try to educate people. I'm not trying to be mean here, okay? Sometimes I lose a little bit, and more important, I don't debate my rights. But at the same time, I try to educate other people. That's my goal, okay? So, there is this person, I don't want to mention the name, even it's public, it's from Kingman. Technically, I think it's like mother and son. I don't want to go there. But anyway, they brought me back. You remember my letter. And this one wrote me back. Dear Second Amendment enthusiast, now that we're taking a moment to dry our tears from yet another mass shooting, which seems to be the norm in the United States, won't you take a precious moment of your time to read our point of view? Of course I'm reading it. I read it on the air, by the way. I'm not afraid to debate you. This letter may help you to better understand the matter of gun safety in the United States of America. By the way, talking about gun safety, just to let you know, mister, I am a certified NRA instructor in handgun, in shotgun, in rifle, self-defense inside the house, self-defense outside the house, refuse to be a victim, certified instructor, distinguished graduate at Frontside, Nevada, distinguished rifleman with the Army qualification test, and some other stuff. And I offer free gun safety classes, by the way, so I think I understand the matter of gun safety. But let's go on. We can tell you that just because someone is a citizen of the United States is not good enough qualification to have the right to own and operate something that can harm or kill others. We can tell you the Second Amendment refers to a well-regulated militia, by definition regulated means to control or supervise. By the way, the Second Amendment, it's a right of the people to keep and bear arms. Let's not forget that part. It's an individual right, like the right to speech, freedom of speech, or the right to be, safe in your possession, or everything you see in the Bill of Rights. It's an individual right. So even the Second Amendment, okay, the well-regulated militia, that's also an addition to say yes. At the time, we also there was no standing army, so we had to be ready, not just for our personal defense, but also to defend our own communities, our own states. Okay, so right there, you're wrong, okay? You're wrong about the fact that probably, yes, you think I'm just a regular citizen. Guess what? Maybe you should know more about me. But let's go on. We can tell you that our founding fathers had no idea what the evolution of a musket would become, but they did believe in the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, even if you don't like it. By the way, our founding fathers, when they wrote the Second Amendment, they started with the musket, but whatever they had at the time, that was considered the equivalent of our rifles. Okay? Because after all, they would then not even have the idea that maybe one day we may have computers and networks and radio stations. The freedom of speech, then what? We should limit it to just some ink and maybe a duck pen? Seriously. Okay, we can tell you that if you need an AR-15 to hunt, you need to give up hunting. First of all, I do not need an AR-15 to hunt. I don't know even hunt. Okay? That's simple as that. Think about it. Also, Eugene Stoney designed the AR-15 and M16 as military weapon to give our soldiers an advantage over the K-47. Stoney has long passed, but his children said, the ex-Marine... But listen to me. The AR-15 that Stoney designed was what exactly is called a real assault weapon. It was designed to shoot in full automatic with selective fire. What we have today called AR-15. It is just a semi-automatic rifle. Do not confuse apple with oranges, please. You can tell you that 17 died at Parkland, 58 died in Las Vegas, 49 died in Orlando, 26 died in Sandy Hook at the end of some legally obtaining an AR-15. I'm sure a lot of people die also of drunken driving, or people were allowed to drive. Can you believe that? Or legally to buy alcohol. Should we deny all the rights to the rest of us to buy alcohol, to drive a car? Interesting. We can tell you that we are not for disarming law-abiding citizens, but we are not for arming teachers either. Nobody said to arm anybody unless they want to be armed. Okay? We can tell you that how easy it is to legally purchase a gun online or a gun show. By the way, you ignorant, and I repeat the word ignorant, to buy a gun online, you need to still go to the same through the same background check that anybody has to go through a shop, because I cannot sell you a gun online. I cannot ship a gun directly to your home. That was before pre-1968. After that, now, every time you purchase a gun, you need to go through an FFL dealer. So before you open your completely ignorant mouth, try to get some information, please. Okay? We can tell you is how easy it is to purchase a gun illegally, as many of you claim it is. Can you explain to us the process and sources? Because everyone we ask has no clue how you do this. You just ask random folks on the street? I don't even want to go there, how stupid you are. Can you tell you have no idea what it's like to live in Italy? However, common sense tells us that we, the mafia or the state, wants you dead. It's going to happen regardless you having a gun, although we can agree the Godfather movie are classic. Okay, first of all, I don't care about the Godfather movie, and bottom line, you don't understand when I meant maybe that in Italy only the mafia and the state, pretty much is the same for me, can have guns. The point is, doesn't matter. Yes, if they want you dead, you will die. At the same time, you still have the right to defend yourself. You want to say this to the black people when they were surrounded by the KKK? They were trying to defend their families. At the end of the day, probably they would be dead anyway. But you know what? Let's try to make their life a little more difficult when the evil people try to kill you. Some of these black people during these discrimination times, they were hugging their shotgun or their rifle like it was exactly the last thing they could have between them and complete, act of violence to themselves and their families. So, don't get me wrong. They want to kill you, one day they will kill you no matter what. But as an individual, you have still a chance to defend yourself. And as a community, you may have a chance to live and survive. Okay, we can tell you that Alex Jones, who helped popularize the term false flag, admitted in court that he is an actor and entertainment show. So how is that now fake news? First of all, I don't care about Alex Jones. I used the word false flag before even I heard about Alex Jones. Just to let you know, I study classics. I study history. Maybe I should just tell you some names. Before even Alex Jones, in Florence, during the Medici times, there was a very famous, let's say, politician who wrote books. Machiavelli, Niccolò Machiavelli. Probably you never heard about that. I don't think you have the type of background that I have. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to brag, but that's the truth. And Niccolò Machiavelli wrote different books and treatises justifying what is called false flag to create an agenda, to advance an agenda. So you see, you don't assume that you know me. We can tell you that there is an 80% chance that law-abiding gun owners most likely will be killed by their own gun versus protecting themselves from another person. First of all, who are you to mention this 80%? I really, completely, where did you come up with these statistics? We could tell you so many other things, but you seem to be too focused on me and me to comprehend the value of real lives. Is it really more about the right to kill if you see it versus your actual right to bear arms, like in the George Zimmerman? What has to do George? Now you mix George Zimmerman, by the way, who's been already found by a court. As much as I don't think he did exactly what I would have done, but he was found innocent. Let's not start to drag everything into this. Why we can understand is your paranoia, why you feel you need to stockpile arms. First of all, it's none of your business whether I stockpile pasta or if I stockpile weapons or not. You don't even know me. You don't know anything. We understand you're scared. The world is a scary place. We can tell you we are scared also. Scared for the kids who have to grow up in times like this. First of all, don't talk for me. I'm not scared. Don't get me wrong, I'm a human being. The same day, I don't carry a gun because I'm scared. I carry a gun, more than one, because I made a decision to not be afraid. And if I had to do and stand between good and evil and defend good and face evil, I already made my decision to do not be afraid. And I will do that with or without guns. The only difference is that guns can give me a better chance to survive and win. That's it. Okay? Alright. That's the point. Anyway. Wow, that was kind of a rant. Now I need a break, and I have the last part, some very important parts with the interview that I had during the last week with this very special guest. His name is Antonino Arconte from Italy, former secret military agent for GLADIO, one of the most secretive organizations during the 70s and the 80s that was operating in Europe. And there's an interesting story. There is the all complete unedited interview on my channel on YouTube. Meanwhile, I would like to share with you at least a little part of what happened, translating it for you. Do not go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on United States.fm. Here we go, back to the studio. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. This is, I'm going to play right now a little part. This is just a little part of the interview that I had last week with Antonino Arconte. And this is a part that, of course, I will translate from the Italian into English. The whole interview is pretty much in Italian. Let me just start a little bit, and of course I will not play the whole interview, but I will give you some little bit of, let's say, segments now, and then of course you will find the complete interview translated already in Italian on my YouTube channel, and also next week the complete, let's say, edited and translated in English. And I will start playing also some segments in the next show, because this information is vital, I believe, when it comes down to understand how government and governments in general work. Okay, here we go. This is directly from the interview that I had on YouTube just last week. You can find the Gianluca Zanna YouTube channel. Stay there. This is the only reason why I'm on the air. I told you many times. My goal is to bring you facts and information that hopefully can let you use your brain and try to find a way that you can find the truth. Now, I'm from Italy, as you know. I came to America about 19 years ago. And I grew up in Italy. I grew up even when I was young, a young boy, listening and living and learning the history of this country, of that country, because now I live in America. And there was a very dark history. There were very dark events that unfortunately the media did not tell us everything. There was an organization that maybe is still out there, and it's called GLADIO. GLADIO is a military organization, at least was a military organization. The original purpose was to stay behind in case of a Soviet invasion. They were somehow the military force that they were trying to stop and repel, or at least take time, meanwhile the Allies from NATO would help. The point is that we didn't know anything about it, and there was, of course, a lot of good people who joined GLADIO because they really believed that they were serving Italy. They were serving the cause of freedom. They were trying to stop the Russians' invasion. The problem is that there is much more to say. This organization, unfortunately, is being used and misused by hidden forces. And the problem is that many of these men, and also women, who joined GLADIO, they were discarded after the use. And some of them died. Some of them, they were killed. And a few people had a chance to say the truth. One of these men that really came to my attention, researching and searching about this very important part of Italian history, that, by the way, is also connected to American history, because let's not forget, GLADIO was also, let's say, sponsored by NATO and the CIA. Okay? This man is Antonino Arconte, that is originally from Sardinia, one of the most beautiful places in the world. I used to go there when I was young to windsurf. And the point is, this man, he was something that is almost out of the movie of a James Bond. It's like an Italian James Bond. And I bought his book, the book that I find amazing. Sometimes it's almost hard to put down. You know, I don't have much time to read. You know, I have very, very limited time. But this book, I'm trying to read it as fast as I can. It's a big book. And I tell you something, I would like everybody somehow enjoy this book. The book is L'ultima missione di G71, the last mission of G71. Now, this show, as you will hear during the interview, because Antonino is right now connected with me on the air, and is from Italy. So we will play this very unique interview with Antonino Arconte, but we will ask questions in Italian, because he will answer in Italian, because I wanted to be sure that he had the most opportunity to express himself in the most accurate way. But you will hear also my voiceover to translate Antonino answers, okay? Why this interview is so important, in my opinion? I mean, the show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. We talk about freedom. We talk about also guns, but more important, the concept here of freedom. To know exactly what happened to a country when hidden forces or secret forces take over a movement, military movement, for also some personal dark agenda, and also some other very important concept, how do they use and dispose their own people when they are not needed anymore. The point is, Mr. Arconte, in this book, he brought so much vital information about the secrets of GLADIO that this man is being persecuted, and also is being found, of course, innocent. And he was such in danger for his life that the American government granted him an asylum. So there is so much to say. All I want to say, please, if you have a chance, go to Amazon and look for L'Ultima Missione di G71. Now, as you can hear my voice, I'm recovering from a cold, and maybe I wanted to postpone another week this interview, but I've already been postponing enough. And when I have this type of information, I don't want to waste any more time, because you never know what's going to happen. And I think really today, what we're going to put here on recording is going to be some sort of a very important historical data for Italian history and also for, in general, for freedom history. Now, let me introduce from Sardinia, and by the way, now in the interview we'll continue in Italian, but you will listen, of course, the translation of voiceover in English. Antonino Arconte. Antonino, ci sei?
Sì, presente. Ciao Gian.
Presente, mi ricordo presente.
Saluto tutti i telespettatori tuoi.
Ok,
Antonino,
io ti farò le domande in italiano e in inglese. I will do questions in Italian and also I will translate in English, or at least with my English. Così almeno possiamo avere un vantaggio poi per tradurre questa intervista. So we have
mi scuso per non essere ancora fluente.
Antonino is apologizing that he can't speak very well English. Antonino Arconte oggi. Chi sei, Antonino?
Antonino Arconte è un ex soldato dell'esercito segreto.
Antonino is an ex soldier of the secret service called GLADIO.
Criminali e traditori,
and
il colpo di Stato perfettamente riuscito del 16 marzo 1977
and he survived his own government.
Che ho denunciato e dimostrato negli anni.
They tried to kill him.
Cercato e cerca tuttora di evitare di essere eliminato quale ultimo testimone sopravvissuto di cui
He's the last witness of this movement called GLADIO, and his own government tried to kill him. You talk about this coup. Ci può dare più dettagli? Can you give us more details? Antonino talks also about this coup, military coup that happened in Italy.
Documentato, spiegato nei dettagli.
And it's all explained in this book. Italy, according to Antonino Arconte, is being occupied and is being taken over.
Descriverlo qui è troppo difficile, sarebbe incomprensibile ai lettori.
It's all, you can read this information in his book. The last mission of G71. Unfortunately, the book is in Italian.
Nazionali il modulo Kennedy, e che è lo stesso utilizzato per l'omicidio JFK in America.
Wow, molto interessante. He talks also about the assassination of President Kennedy, and I will ask him during the interview exactly according to his experience, who were the, let's say, the responsibles.
Presa come un colpo di Stato, ma gli effetti di questo colpo di Stato si sono mostrati negli anni, basta avere gli strumenti per poter vedere, perché tutto ciò che è accaduto in Italia da allora, dal 78 a oggi, è un effetto del colpo di Stato e del fatto che l'Italia è finita sotto il controllo di poteri criminali e traditori.
He talks about this coup that happened and started in 1978, and they said that all this is documented in his book, and also you can see it. You can see it exactly according to the events the Italian government is going through. This is just the beginning of the interview. I want to tell you, I really want to focus on next week to give you all the most important part. This is like more than an hour, 1 hour interview. I want just to give you today the little taste, the little feeling that this is a very important information. It's a very important guest. It's an historical guest. Antonino is the last alive. Maybe there is another one. This is another one, but nobody like Antonino went public with all these documented records that he can show, and he's shown also, in front of the European Community for the Human Rights, and also he was granted asylum in America because of exactly what they done to him and his family. So I will bring you next week the rest of the interview. I want just to somehow give you the flavor of what's coming next Sunday. You know, I alternate the show with, sometimes we go just with news, my monologues, and sometimes I bring you guests. And when I bring you guests, I'm trying to bring you the best. As I said, for a local humble radio show, I always try to work as hard as I can to bring you guests that they're not just locals, but they represent what's happening around the world when it comes down to freedom. All right. Now, just to finish this segment for today, don't miss next Sunday. We will go through exactly this interview in a very accurate way. Meanwhile, I want to say thank you. I need your help. I need your support. As I said, we are under attack. Freedom is under attack on many levels. And this show for me is an act of love, as I said. But I need also your love. I need your help. If you want to support this show, first of all, support K-Talks. It's a very, what I call a truly an independent radio station. I don't know if I could be able to deliver this information on any other commercial station. I have no idea. Probably I would just do it on the internet. But K-Talks has been, since the beginning, loyal to freedom and freedom of speech. That's a fact. So number one. Then, of course, if you want, please support myself. I'm an independent producer. You know, I don't work for anybody. So if you want to, you can do it. Just purchasing products. I hope you enjoy. You can go to www.zanna.us and download any of my music for just 99 cents, or go to Amazon.com, find my Zanna coffee. You can buy it there. You can buy on eBay. Also, you can buy on Zanna.com. And, of course, my book, Perfectly Crazy. And, of course, you can go to, you know, anything you can find about me. Go even just starting from usarms.tv, ar50shop.us. That's what I do for a living. People say, I had a lady who used to be a Facebook friend of mine, that I realized that she's a communist, by the way. I don't even know you became a friend of mine. And she almost criticized me because I am always ready to capitalize on everything. Guess what, lady? That's the way I pay my bills. I do not steal. I do not force anybody to buy anything. It's called freedom, market, capitalism. Try to offer you a good product, a good service for a great price. And that's how I make my living. Since I came to America, that's the way I've been doing. All right, and thank you guys. You are the final authority. You, the listeners, you, the supporters. That's how I live my life. This is not socialism. This is not communism. This is not fascism. We do not force anybody to buy anything like Obamacare.
Are you ready to get lost in lust? Immerse yourself in a thunderstorm of emotions and passion. Order John luca-zanna's new book, Perfectly Crazy, 69 erotic visions and love poems with forbidden erotic Italian phrases. Perfectly Crazy by John luca-zanna. Available all over the world at Amazon.com and www.zanna.us.